Good morning, definitely good morning. Welcome to Investigator News, and I'm your host, Ellie. And boy, I got a packed show for you. I really, looking at everything I have, I'm excited almost. The election, um, they say it's tied up over there in Pennsylvania, and they say that it could be a Dr. Oz win. They also are saying that a lot of Trump's ones he supported, they are winning, a few of them. There was one gentleman in the wheelchair that I really, really liked, and I should have got his name, but it looks like he may have lost. And I did like him. He was really speaking hard, but when you look at the opponent that he had, his opponent was very, very strong on this Biden inflation, and I think that's what got him over the top. So, wow. Um, I will have an earthquake and weather report later today. It will be a pre-recorded. I'm getting ready for hurricane season, folks. Um, and in order for me to give you a really good the hurricane status, um, I'm gonna do that separately. So it's not that you guys are missing out on my weather and earthquakes. It'll just be a separate platform. It's changes I'm making to the show. So on with the news. Babies. Oh my goodness, there are babies going in the hospitals. One in Tennessee. There's two of them actually. No, Nick, you weren't first. Nick, you were second. Susan beat you by two shoes and a robe. Uh, but the babies, there's one over in Tennessee due to the lack of formula. Is this a trend that we're going to start seeing here in this country? I believe we will be. There is lots of babies that have to have special iron or nutrients that they don't get, they have to have due to birth issues. And so now we see two babies. I expect we'll see more. Um, so yeah, yes, I have to move up. There's been a lot of people asking me, "Are you on Rumble?" I just haven't moved things over. The changes I'm making here to this, I'm going to try to keep his channel. I'm gripping on. I use the super glue. I use clamps of bungee ropes and let's see, a hatchet and garbage bags to keep this one going. Um, there are a lot of restrictions. So new ones that I seen today, like we can't even talk about Russia and Ukraine. That's new. And that's why you're seeing so many channels disappearing on YouTube. And the other one is let's see, uh, voting. That's not allowed either on YouTube. You're not allowed to talk about any of that unless it's polls. So yeah, so I haven't had a chance. I mean, William will tell you I have not had a chance to get a hold of him on the future of this channel that I'm gonna desperately hold on to this time. You don't see Susan is in Facebook. Um, and let me explain that too, because I'm getting a lot of emails on how come I can't see Facebook people. It's because it's under another platform. So if you're here under Facebook, you won't be able to see people that are talking on YouTube and vice versa. So that's what's going on. So, yep, that's why you don't see some of them. Uh, but where are our moderators? I'll have them tell you what they're saying, unless Karen has moved over. Uh, so I even got to get together with her, and I got together with Mary last night to discuss some revelations, and I'll get to that later in the show. Um, so as far as Rumble goes, I have to move quite a few shows over there. And sometimes Rumble with the download people doing a lot of them, it takes a day just to get a 1 hour show posted. So it's very slow going, and I got to have nothing not going on my computer for it to run right. And if I get on there and do a show, it slows it down. It takes 2 days for one show. So Rumble needs to fix their stuff. Anyway, the babies. You know, folks, um, I really do hope that this isn't a stall by the Biden administration and getting the formula back on the shelves. That is very important, and it only hurts them. But as I'm realizing, I don't think it matters to them. I just don't think it matters. So, wow, you think about that, and then your mind just goes every which way. Um, Definitely a lot of stuff today on the show. Elon Musk calls Twitter out over fake accounts. The audit reveals a half or three-quarters of Biden followers are fake. Wow. See, that's what he knew. I think he knew it. So, uh, all of it, and they said it's even worse with the rest of the Democrats. They're finding 50% of Democrat supporters are fake. And he don't want to pay for fake people. So now this is the holdup with Elon Musk and Twitter. They're going to have to get rid of these fake accounts so he can actually see the actual people that he would be dealing with and making the money off of. Hello, Linda from Illinois. So Elon Musk, he's doing the right thing. Everybody's getting mad at him, but don't get mad. I mean, would you pay for something that was fake? If you went to buy a pair of shoes and they charged you $200 for designer shoes, and you find out that China made them and they're actually, the heel falls off in 2 days, you wouldn't want to pay that much money for it. And that's really the concept that Elon Musk has. So, wow. I agree with him. I'm on Elon Musk's side. I'm not going to pay for something that isn't there. And fake people, oh my goodness, you would not, half the trolls. I would like to see how many fake people have accounts on YouTube. I mean, I don't care about Facebook. Facebook isn't messing with me. So I'm happy with Facebook right now. But YouTube, how many are fake? Because these trolls are just out of control. I get them on mine, but they're perverts. I hope I can say that word. But they are. They write nasty things, and not only that, now they're writing it in Russian and Spanish. And I don't know, so I don't even know what they're saying. But anybody that happens to see the comments that speak those languages are sure in for a big surprise. You're a fake. No, you're not. You're a mascot. What do you think of that, Nick? Nick's like, how did I become a mascot in this thing, in this realm of Ellie? It's because you don't call me. If you call me, you wouldn't be a mascot. So, General Flynn, wow, General Flynn is stepping up, and I'm glad he is. He has every right to be. He says, I don't give a crap. I'm gonna go after these people. He's going after the FBI, the Department of Justice, and he might even be going after the CIA. He's going after them, filing a $50 million lawsuit and damages for malicious prosecution related to discredited Russia collusion crusade. He was, if you don't know who he was briefly a part of the Trump administration. He was the national security advisor until corrupt FBI began pursuing him. It wasn't just pursuing him, they had it in for him. And not only that, but then even the courts went after him. If you guys remember the lawsuit a couple years ago, what was her name? I'm bad with names. But his lawyers were even tied to a little bit of corruption on the Hillary Clinton side. A lot of people don't know that. They were wanting to side with the district attorney and the prosecutors and wanting to put him away in prison for a very long time. So now, yes, he is going after them. And I'm glad. I'm very, very glad to see this. I like General Flynn. Democrats don't, but oh boy, I got something. Oh boy, you guys, do I got info on them guys. Mariupol surrenders to the Russian army after an 82-day siege. The problem with it is now they're in the hands of the Russians. What's going on with this steel plant is the 200, I think 258, they say, have been now taken into custody by the Russians, and either they'll be held up for exchange, um, or they just might keep them. Quite a few of them are going to be charged with the atrocities that have been done to the Russian people. I'll get a little bit more on that tonight. Me and William got our World War III um, program tonight. So uh, it's going to be, I think it's going to be packed too. We got lots of info. Uh, William's like, really? I didn't know that. You haven't called me. Boy, I got a list. Uh, so, we're looking at um, the Russian army now having, or the Russians or Putin. And Putin says he's a better general than his generals. That was the other thing that came out this morning, that he is now want to be more in charge of what's going on to keep his military in line. He's tired of the rumors or um, that's coming out of both sides, and he wants to make sure that his military is on the up and up. Uh, I think he would make a better general than his generals. William, what do you think? I'd like to get William's perspective on this because he's more military. Um, I've seen him as president. I've seen him as kind of a community um, and country leader. And I know he definitely rides horses. I don't know if y'all knew, but Putin loves horses. And so he does a lot of horseback riding. But I've never really seen him as a general or a military man, listening to most of his press conferences. So, um, William's not answering. I think he has to get um, his William maybe have to get a robe and some slippers on this morning to be able to get in there. Don't worry, Susan's got her eyes covered. Um, Project Veritas is dropping some video on Twitter censorship and the fear of Elon Musk. So it has come out that Project Veritas um, got in there. These places ought to be careful because because Veritas is all over the place now, and they're sneaking in and they're getting this stuff on camera, and they are a little bit their sanity at Twitter is being tested, and not only and why he never said he's going to cut the far right, the far left. That's kind of what the fear is they're going to cut the speech of the left, and he never said that. He never said anything about censorship on the platforms. So not only that, but the thing about it is some of the workers have come forward and said some of these right, and the workers were commie. Nothing. They were censoring the right, okay, and the workers were basically saying that there are, boy, I have to really think on how to say this. This is really horrible, and a lot of F words in it. Um, they were nothing but the super left, left, left. I got to leave out the stuff before it because it's a lot of cursing. So there are employees that are complaining that the left is just squeezing out a lot of the people that are Republicans that are working for Twitter. Not only that, but they're also worried about does Twitter not believe in freedom of speech? This is what the left is saying, that their freedom of speech will be curbed. It will be cut. They won't be able to say what they've wanted to say and been saying. So there is a bias, and according to a few of the CEOs that have bought into the company and own stock, said there is a bias, and it is what it is today. So Veritas got a lot of really good info. And you can always find it. Twitter senior engineer admits undercover video about Twitter. You can watch it on YouTube. Um, Putin's troops would likely frag him. Oh boy. See, Putin's troop would likely frag him. Yeah. Um, Not only that, but Zelensky keeps jumping in and praising, I mean, overly praising his military, and he said even the Azovs. Uh, and I'm, you know me on that. I know what they are, and they are white supremacist neo Nazis, and I can't see him totally supporting this. But he does. He's very proud of them. And he says when this is all said and done and he wins, he's going on a nice long vacation. But he does support his military. Uh, let's see, it is part, I think almost 50% of the Azov army and part of extremists, and a very small part of the uh, military with uh, Ukraine army, actually, Ukraine army. That's why they brought it in. And we've seen Putin do the same thing. He brought in the Chechens. He is now bringing in Yemen, Houthi, Hezbollah, and the Iranian separatists. So, man, William, don't we have a lot to talk about tonight? All this stuff with going on over there in Ukraine, and nobody's allowed to say anything. I'm really borderline today on this. So Finland and Sweden apply for NATO membership. And this is basically upset Mr. Vlad once again. And he sends nuclear capable missiles over to the front lines and set them up. Now, for those of you that don't know, he did the same thing with Cuba for the United States. So now we have missiles being, we have these missiles that are being set up in Cuba on the borders of Cuba and facing the United States. Will he shoot them? I don't think so. Don't get worried over there in Florida now. He likes to, like me and William say, flex his muscles, and it's war. It's war right now, and it's war against all the countries that are involved, even Africa, because Biden just sent uh, uh, 500 troops for boots on the ground in Somalia. That is a war that the Trump administration was against, and they pulled those soldiers out. And so now Biden is putting them back in. So now we have another war that's starting, and this is a fighting war. So this is a war in Somalia against the what are they called? It's not Boko Haram, it's the other ones. Al Qaeda, I believe it's Al Qaeda that he's fighting there, and parts of ISIS, but it's mainly Al Qaeda soldiers that's in Somalia. So Israel has put up a huge warning now from and materials, basically, and data that they're showing that Iran is days away from the bomb. And so they said they have been warning us that they possibly have them. Now, since they were said to be fake, they have been sending over spies over into Iran to find out exactly. Well, they have come back and they said, yes, they are days away, but they really feel that they have a stockpile somewhere. They just no proof to it. So let's go with the newest data that's saying that they are days away. Californians, beware. You are definitely going under a conservation mandate that'll take effect the 1st of June. This is for water conservation. And I'm going to do a special on that, on the water issues in this country. I've been talking to a few about it, and I really do want to show you guys how bad it is. A lot of people don't realize, but the Colorado River, it's almost dried up. And so what it's now doing is California facing the same drought. And the draining of the lakes, they have been doing the reservoirs. And so now those are dry. And with the lack of water all of these years, for decades, really, they are now have to conserve the water, and now they're placing mandates. I feel very sorry for California because not only that, but the power outages and not enough power for all those people keep happening. Now, get this. Now, in Texas, Abbott has now said they should be sustainable. But they said, now get this, Abbott made a good point here when he was talking. He said everybody should really set their ACs to right about 78 degrees. And that would be about perfect if you want to run and maintain a really good electrical grid for your city. Now, I know it may seem a little hot, folks, but do it. Let's do it so we can at least not lose power like we're going to see in California this summer. So try it. If it don't work, it don't work. Maybe 77. But I think it's a good idea now that we're moving into the hot season. See what you can do at right about 78. Now, I've had friends say, oh my gosh, that's too cold. I keep mine at 82. But, that's perfect for them. But what I'm saying is try to keep it at 78. Don't go lower. My dad used to freeze us out at 72. And we would all be in coats and sweaters in the summertime. I'm serious. We would all be under blankets and shivering. He's like, what's up? Why is everybody under blankets and in coats? We're like, turn the AC up. Put it up a little higher. We're freezing in here. He always complained he was hot. So give it a try, folks. Just give it a try. So the FBI agents, and quite a few of them yesterday in the Sussman trial, were more prosecution witnesses going to be today. Yesterday it was opening statements, and it really does sound like, I listened to Whitmer this morning, and he says this looks really good. That it's all the fingers are pointing to Hillary Clinton. Now the gentleman that was on one of the gentlemen, I think it was Baker, that might have been on the stand or going to be on the stand today, has basically said that when Sussman brought him the story of the Russia collusion, that he said he wasn't, or he knew about it. He didn't bring it to him. But he said, this isn't nothing that is tied to any clients of mine. I'm coming to help you on my own accord, and no one is pushed me or involved me in this. And come to find out that was the lie to the FBI. So in Baker, he went to Baker. So Sussman went to Baker with this, and basically, there's no, I'm not supporting anybody. I'm not working for anybody. I did this on my own. And then what has come out is documents claiming that, yes, he was hired by Hillary Clinton to go after Donald Trump over the Russia scandal. Also found out there's a few of Hillary Clinton supporters that are in the jury. So this is going to be an interesting case. Yesterday, oh boy, China Eastern jet crashed that killed 132 people. Now, China usually don't have plane crashes, and so now there's some that saying this might have been intentional. It might have, this is according to the Wall Street Journal. I don't know, do we believe the Wall Street Journal or the Times? So you got to wonder. They said that it indicated strong possibility that someone in the cockpit sent the plane into an international nosedive. Now, that has happened before. You remember, was it Flight 360 something? that the pilot veered off course and went into the ocean. So this isn't the first time. Um, they say it was a Boeing 738-800 jet, the flight from coming China to Guangzhou, um, and that the jet appeared to launch in a nearly vertical descent, and that it crashed basically. Uh, acc- the accident investigators had basically analyzed the crash, and they said this is a U.S. manufactured jet, but they didn't find anything um, beforehand on the uh, uh, oh boy, I'm lost of words right there. I'm starting to sound like Nancy Pelosi, folks. At least I'm not drunk. um, uh, their repair reports and everything that's been done to the plane, and they said no, that it was in good condition to be flying. They definitely went for the black box, and the nosedive appeared to suggest that the crash was intentional. So there we got it. So boy, I did. I sound like Nancy Pelosi for a second. I listened to her this morning, and she was like, "Ooh, and made no sense. Hopefully, I make a little sense. But like I said, at least I'm not drunk. Um, so we have that plane crash, and this is something that we're going to have to look into. Did you guys, any of you, watch the UFO hearings yesterday? There is a new one that they've hid from us that came out yesterday. And I was just kind of zooming through it, and then I seen it, and it's a triangle. And I went, oh, that's a new one. And so I started watching the hearing, and they did introduce it as a new one. Also found out that the Tic Tac one, they have been tracking it, a continuous tracking of this vehicle. And if it goes down and disappears, they wait. And they said they're finding that it's reappearing in basically the same areas. Now, these UFOs are going over a lot of nuclear plants, a lot of places where nuclear are stored, nuclear launchers, everything. It just seems like they're going after even over, get this, uranium um, mines. They're hovering over them too. So, and they're now starting to see this triangle thing. Come to find out from this lady that was doing uh, she had her own program, and she was talking about these UFOs. And because I was looking for the green ones, and she is actually saying that these, not only the Tic Tac, but the silver orb looking ones and the triangles are now starting to look at the cobalt mines and anything that is being used for the batteries, electric, or even nuclear issues. So, wow, that was something. We have Pompeo over in Iran. Um, what he's doing is he's looking for and talking to the Iranian people that are against this regime that is basically a terrorist regime. And so he was able to go over and talk to a few of the people to find out their point of view on this. Um, Pompeo, I have to say, folks, that he he could go for president easily. His foreign affairs policies and his foreign affair trips are phenomenal. He has never stopped, even when he left office. He has went to every single country almost, even ones that don't have issues, and to talk with the leaders and talk with the people. And at one time he did mention he would like to run for president, and he's something, folks. You got to listen to him, and I believe we might have a future president in Pompeo. Um, there's another thing going on here with babies. What, man, this is just crazy. There has been a mystery surge in the deaths of newborns. And this is not due to SIDS, they say. This is something that is going on, and when they get the babies in for an autopsy, they're not finding anything wrong with these babies. They just die. They're not being smothered, so don't worry about that. And they are claiming it's not this formula shortage either, but something is going on with these babies. And they are definitely launching an investigation into this. So, and I don't want to scare future moms or um, grandmas, but you keep your daughters healthy. Keep these ladies healthy. I think that's the issue, is they're just not eating right. They're not taking those prenatal vitamins. And this is something that was mentioned in the article, is about 20% of pregnant women take their prenatals and postnatals, because your postnatals help your body to return. And I think that really has caused a lot of women to have postpartum depression. Uh, Not me. I'm too jolly. I mean, but I only had 2 kids. I didn't want no more than 2. I got 1, I got 2, and I seen how the first one acted, and I said, oh no, Ellie can't do 2. Nope, nope. But then I babysat a whole bunch of kids. You know, I could send them home at night though. That's the same way as being grandma. You can always send them home. There, I have the whole. I'm going to get hate mail from grandmas saying, "Really, you hate kids? I don't hate kids. I love kids. I just like other people's kids. I don't want to have them in my own house." Uh, I'm teasing. My grandkids love me. Uh, they think I'm the coolest. So, but now back to the babies. So be very, very careful, and watch your daughters very close, or your granddaughters or sisters. Um, they say they just do not know what's killing these babies, and there have been about a dozen of them now that are just dying as newborns. And the age, um, well, they're basically claiming that the age of these babies can go from newborn up to 3 months. Um, so be very, very careful. Boy, you guys are going to like what I have coming up. Well, I got a phone call from uh, the CDC lady I talked to. And she says, you know what, this Title 42, she said we got to keep them in place, because the infectious diseases is making the border crisis worse. And the reason, you remember when they wouldn't let anybody in the tents or the cages to look at these people? Well, come to find out, there was a ration of hepatitis, tuberculosis, and uh, smallpox and measles. And they said they can't get a handle on this that's coming across. And they say most of it is from, oh boy, I hope everybody's seeing me. Yep, okay. I'm watching my connection source, and it's fluctuating. So if you guys keep losing me, it's probably me. Um, the infectious disease has said that they are still having a lot of diseases come over the border, and their fear is Ebola from Africa at this point. Now, I could talk about this stuff, I just can't talk about the other thing. So, she said this is a worry that they have, because now that the immigrants or illegals are being shipped around our country, they're now starting to see hepatitis happen in a lot of kids around this country. So beware. And she just wanted to have me send you guys warning. The UN World Economic calls for, the World Economic Forum, which is, and it says UN. This is Klaus Schwab. He demands to call an end to oil, gas, and by the end of this summer, for it to be gone. I don't know if that's going to work out with the farmers. The farmers are now trying to. They just spent hundreds and thousands of dollars on tractors and what they need to do their farms, and now what? Uh, Now they have to go electric, and they're. I've heard from one farmer that says it's twice as much for one of these electric tractors. It's the newest model, and it has a lot of extras on it, and they just can't afford it. They have lost with their crops, and you lose your crops, that's your money. Well, now they could be forced to buy electric tractors, which they don't know if they can do. Some of them are even starting to store gas on their properties. And I've heard that not only from one person, but now I'm hearing it from about a dozen farmers here. Um, have you guys heard about the sand storm in Iraq? This is kind of weird. It's like it keeps coming back or keeps happening. They have had a sandstorm. It has shut down basically Iraq um, for the last 7 days, and before that, it was quite a few times before. They cannot get rid of the sandstorm. It's like it's going to leave, and then another wave hits. Um, so they have, and they said they're having health issues. Many people have died from suffocation. Uh, so this is something that is very, very rare. Um, to me, it goes back to the Bible when we'll see things like this happen in the last days. This is rare, folks. And I keep telling you, if I see a rare earthquake or something along biblical, uh, what's in the Bible, this I think qualifies for it. And get this, last year, Africa had a swarm of locusts that just would not leave, and it decimated probably 80% of the crops in Africa that they were trying to, get a handle on to feed their own people. So, yeah, we got that going. Oh boy, and I'm still going here. All right, I might even be able to do it. You guys are going to hear my little hamster going here. It happens all the time. It goes does it, what, the sandstorms or the locust? But see, the locust got really bad last year, William. It decimated. They could not get rid of these locusts. Um, my my friend down now, the one that's in Kenya, he said it didn't get over there to where he was at. He said, but hearing what was going on, he was very fearful for his farm that the school runs. And he said, but it was horrendous. He could not believe how it was plagued, and it was worse than the previous years. Now, my friend down in southern Africa, um, he was saying that there was some that got down there because, see, there's a lot of farms in southern part of Africa, and it did decimate one of the farms that he knows of, but he couldn't tell me where. Um, um, he couldn't tell me exactly where it was. William was talking about the sandstorms. They go on for 5 days at a time. Well, William, I thought I heard about it in Saudi. Saudi gets them because there's a lot of sand there. Um, Not only that, but is it Yemen? It's either Yemen or Oman that get them too. But Iraq, that's I think that's kind of a little bit unusual. But I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. Um, um, so boy, this is a good one. America's, it seems to be running hate speech. The media is all over it, and um, the horrifying amount of violence in the United States over the weekend. It wasn't just those shootings, the mass shootings. The 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 shootings in Chicago. Let's see, L.A., Chicago. I think they said Stockton. I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that. New York, Philadelphia. They said it was a horrifying amount, and that was just over the weekend. And it is increasing. It is increasing. And over the last 2 days, at least 104 Americans were shot to death in major cities, and that's a lot. You got to think about that. 100. You know, they're, and not to say that the 10 at the supermarket wasn't enough. That was just horrifying. But can you imagine 104 Americans shot in one supermarket? And so why isn't our government doing anything about this? This is major cities all across the United States. And for perspective on one of the single deadliest day in Iraq war in January of 2005, you would have thought the whole bunch had died. No, only 37. So the 104 just blows Iraq war in 2005 away. Think on this. That's scary. And what is happening in our city right now looks like a lot of looks like a war. It looks like a war. When you have two young men carrying AR-15s walking down the street, and the first person they find, they shoot them. And they not only that, but you see it all the time that these hoodlums will jump out of a car, pulling their guns, walking down the street, shooting anything that moves. This now looks like a lot of war in our country, even if we rarely acknowledge it. Dallas, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia, and many other metro areas, like in St. Louis, were shot. In Chicago, 33 um, that were working on a construction site were mowed down by gunfire. Not only that, in Laguna Woods, California, the Chinese immigrants from Las Vegas walked into this Presbyterian church, and they basically shot 6 elderly Taiwanese parishioners. But that's not really what I want to get into. So, you know, then we had this teenager, and I want to get into him because there's a lot of fake news out there that's happening. This teenager with a military uniform that walked into that grocery store in Buffalo shot more than a dozen strangers with a rifle. Okay, this wasn't no military. This was no AR-15 and these semi-automatics and everything that they want to claim. This was just a rifle, a simple rifle that a lot of hunters even have. And you probably haven't seen the details about 10 Americans that were murdered in that Buffalo store. Neither do you guys want to even know about it because it's just all over. Now, they were African Americans. We know that. And a lot has been reported on the coverage. But get this. The problem with the coverage is it's all about the gunman. Did you guys notice that? It's all about him, and what the Democrats think of him. What about the victims? We didn't even hear hardly anything about these victims. You know, the 18-year-old guy named Peyton Gendron, he's mentally ill. Everyone knew about it. Less than a year ago, he was committed to a mental hospital after threatening to murder his classmates in a graduation ceremony. So this is a kid that has graduated. They say he left a 180-page manifesto. It wasn't a manifesto, it was just a letter. I don't know why when somebody does a mass shooting, and this is only, not to say it wasn't enough, there was only 10 people, but he's claiming it's this big, the media is claiming it's this big manifesto. The letter said he would explain his motive. Now, you probably heard the document described as a racist manifesto. It's definitely racist, bitterly so, horrifying so. It's creepy, and this gentleman deserves everything he gets. He reduces people to the color of their skin. And, you know, to me, racism is immoral. I mean, that's my own opinion. I think it's very immoral because of what I've learned over the past of African Americans in my own state. And what he wrote does not add up to the manifesto part. It's not a blueprint for a new political movement. Anyone that claims it is, or hasn't. Instead, his letter is rapidly each of slogans, internet memes, of which flatly contradict one another. The document is not recognizable as left wing or right wing. He is not a Republican, come to find out. He's not even political at all. They say those that have actually been able to look at it have leaked out the document. He's crazy. He's insane. It's the product of a diseased and an organized mind. Part of some of the global conspiracy against him, disjointed, irrational, paranoid. That's true. Yes, that's true. And the atrocities he's committed is it easier to bear if it's yelled at you by Democrats? They're a racist. They're a racist. They're a racist. Is that easy for you to hear, or would you like to hear more details about this guy? Me, if he's still alive and he goes to court, I want to know everything. I want to know who his mama is. I want to know who his daddy and sister is, and I want to know how he was raised and what he has done that shown little things in the past, maybe, that we could learn about what is wrong with this diseased mind. You know, uh, the truth about this Peyton Gendron, and you know what, folks? I never used to mention the names of these guys. I would rather put it on the victims, but it's changed over the years. Now, it does tell you a lot about the ruthless dishonesty of our political leadership. Within minutes of Saturday shooting, before they even they even put the crime scene tape, we had so many media jump on board and get on TV. And I get this, the families hadn't even been notified, and they begin to come up with this campaign to blame it on their political opponent. Yeah, they did. Yep. Immediately. Immediately, they said this is Trump's fault. Trump did it. This is Trump addicts. This is the MAGA crowd. Yep. Trump. Did you guys see it? I mean, I was disgusted. I was absolutely disgusted with NBC, ABC, CNN. They all jumped on and said, yep, it's a radical racist and it's a Trump person. And they didn't even know nothing about this guy. They hadn't even said who the shooter was, except for it was a racist motivated shooting. And they say he was heir to Donald Trump, they told us. Well, no, he wasn't even political. And for that reason, it follows logically we must suspend the First Amendment, is what they were saying. Yep, we must suspend the First Amendment. What? Why? Because he's a Trumpster. He's a Trumpster. So we got to suspend the First Amendment. That is our media, folks. Really? They want to cut their own throats? No, they would still be there. You watch. That's hardly, I'm not exaggerating this. This is hardly something I'm making up, something I'm playing for the camera. No, this is real. And what they're saying, okay, just here's a selection. I'm going to read you some of the stuff they were saying, and the social media companies. And law enforcement have not done enough to monitor, ban, restrict, the limit to speech. And hate speech is not freedom of speech, as you know. The First Amendment does not protect hate speech. And speak, I will protect maybe protect the first, but any moment, day of the week. But you don't protect hate speech. You don't protect incendiary speech. You are not allowed to scream fire in a crowded theater. There are limitations on speech. Okay, so what is hate speech? Speech that our leaders hate because of the mentally ill, murdered strangers? You cannot be allowed to express your political views outside what they want. Who's they? The Democrats. That is why they are telling you, and that is why they been wanting to tell you for decades. They've been working on this for decades. But Saturday's massacre, the the pre-tax and the justification, you got to ask yourself, who behaves like that? What sort of person uses a mass murder as an excuse to give a campaign speech or sees it as political power to tell you you're a racist? Huh. And then Biden's view, it was a prayer that this is a disaster that could possibly hurt his party. Probably not, but we see Democrats openly think Republicans and their voters as low-life thugs, criminals of sorts, and they no longer recognize the GOP, uh, which Biden now views as an existential threat to the nation's democracy. And people who disagree with them need to be hurt. Okay, well, who's people that disagree with them? It seems to be us. Now, think on this view. The media portrays to this country, to it like Al Qaeda. I mean, they do. They're referring to the Republicans of this nation as equivalent to Al Qaeda. And now we have an American president who, in a way, has declared war on half the people in this country. And not only that, he's coming from a party that supported the KKK for almost 90 years. The KKK has been together. And why do I say that Joe Biden supported the KKK? It's because he supported and loved Senator Byrd, a known KKK wizard or leader, as many Congress and senators and Democrats mourned his death, and also attended his funeral. They spoke highly of him as a long-term career. Even quoted they cherished him as a leader of not only Congress but Senate, and they will suffer dearly. This is what they said at his funeral, and that he was the leader of their party, and it's what drove them to um, uh, support support and make sure that their laws in this country are um, the laws of this country are obeyed. So the Senator Byrd, this KKK Green Dragon, was their mentor. Hmm. And then Biden said they will suffer for this one in this election. Biden still has time to change his course and fix this. He could try to improve the lives of voters who are dissatisfied with him, us, the bad guys. That is what politicians typically do, and they are down. They listen to the people who might reflect them, not the voters. We're not seeing that when every time you hear of a hearing, a debate, or anything that's on the floor, they don't support our views. And we face that fact because Politico has reported it. Well, yes, so we believe Politico and the New York Times and the Western Journal and all that. What they say is true. And Biden is taken to telling his aides that he no longer recognizes the GOP, and neither should they. We now, which now he views as an existential threat to this nation's democracy. People who disagree with the administration, according to Joe Biden, are now existential threat to a nation like Al Qaeda or ISIS or even climate change. I thought that by definition that's so profound that we must declare war and upon the American people in order to survive. Really? This is Biden's words. It's not my words. This is a threat that Biden is referring to. And who is it? It's you. He's talking about his fellow Americans, like this, um, like this is going to be that he has to save his country. Joe Biden does it regularly, and he'll certainly do it again. The most painful of all, Biden is likely to use radical wounds in order to make his point. There is no behavior worse than this. This is the first time in history we have a political party that hate the American people, vow to punish them. It's the first time in history a party has turned violent, out to destroy not only our cities but our voters, after claiming and promising unity. What did that 80-year-old, 85-year-old in a nursing home with Alzheimer's do to the Democrats that voted for them? That's now probably not going to be able to afford the nursing home. And now they want to attack her because she doesn't agree with their views. It's a true story. Or what about the 90-year-old vet that Antifa spit on him, pushed him out of his wheelchair, and kicked him in the face? And that was okay. That was okay. That really happened, and I watched it. Why the hatred? Just because this vet was a Republican? But Antifa didn't know. It was a vet in a veterans parade, and he was an easy target. We have serious hatred admitted here, and always politics is bad. No matter what flavor those politics happen to be, there shouldn't be race in politics. And, and there shouldn't be a political party that's better than another. All of this is poison. Where is politics subdued an individual group in the past? This is first in history. Or what about erasing people? They do. It erases people, it dehumanizes them, and it elevates the appearance of the initiative and decency and all the other God given qualities that make a person a person. Every unique color, or even morally equal to every other person. Color shouldn't matter. And above all, race politics always makes us hate each other. And it always in a predictable way. With this last one, we knew that after watching those that fell to their knees and cried just because Trump was in office, we're now seeing them dressed in black throwing Molotov cocktails at not just police, but people that don't agree with them. So let's say you were to make an identity politics mandatory. What's that mean? Communism. How could you be surprised when it leads to the weight of identity politics? You could not be surprised. You can't be anymore. And you did it, and it was always going to happen. But then what happens next? Nothing. Race and politics is a sin. Race politics always leads to violence and death. We're finding this out. We should have learned in Rwanda, where 800,000 people were killed. And that was just because of politics. And, so when we move from the opposite direction, from when Joe Biden is basically trying to take over the United States, now it's going into ethnicity. And it's been stripped out of our school books. It's been taken out of our school and roped off the government identity. Not only that, but changing our passports, our cards, the newspapers, radio station, steer clear as well. Why? They're forced to by the Biden administration policies. Remember that big old stack, Susan? I don't know if you're still in here. Remember the stack that he signed? This is everything that was put into place. They nationally headed to the kitchen to get the knives to radically chop off the political party of the Republican Party. Even the independent party is not allowed. So this identification that seems to loom so large wasn't happening 10 years ago. But we have seen extremists begin to mask their killings back then. They have de-emphasized race. And this is what they did in Rwanda to start. And intentionally, systematically, citizens should be citizens first. And the members of racial or travel groups or whatever they are shouldn't be second or should be first, or they shouldn't. Why has this country become first and second in a political way? Now, there has been more genocides, not only in Africa, but we're finding over in China and many more. And that could easily be the path forward for this country, um, as our politicians seem to ignore the atrocities in other countries. And what are they doing to de-escalate any of the crime, the anger in the streets? Nothing. And it's to turn from hundreds to thousands of cities across the country. Uh, we used to think it was just about George Floyd or um, a cop killing a kid, a cop killing an African American, but it's gone beyond that. And now we're seeing that human beings are being treated as subspecies, and it's because politicians has played it out that way. A lot of interest groups that benefit political parties or enemies. We have a moral duty to change this because the people have an equal value of morality. No matter what they look like, all lives matter, period. And it is a determination of God that made us all believe this. And not only that, but us Christians believe in the Ten Commandments. Um, and as we have to listen and have it acceptable that for ISIS to be yelling, my God is not your God. Did the Democrats seem to realize that when they supported them? They'd like to see a return. We'd like to see a return to the American way of life. Um, and judge me by what I do, not by how I look. By the content of my character, not the color of my skin. Not my political party, which is now political preference to how you'll be able to live, or if you're considered a racist. This is a new severe hatred in this country. And not only that, police are viewed as same hatred due to the fact that they stand in the way of political persecution. Think on that. We have a monument on the wall to this, and um, and what I mean by that is we have our values that were in all them statues that they tore down. That's what it was talking about, equality. And even um, some of them that was expressing that their beliefs are true beliefs, and they erected the statue, but they still tore it down. And suddenly every voice and power is leading us in the opposite direction. And everybody knows this. And the 17-year-old shooter, um, uh, the high school senior paid in Kindred, received an assignment in his economics class. What do you want to do when you retire? Okay, this is when he was in school. He answered, commit a murder suicide. And the teacher immediately reported his threat to the authorities, who sent him to the emergency room in a psychiatric evaluation. And he wrote later in his diary that he outed because he had to stick with that story. And he was trying to get out of the class, and it was stupid. He wrote it down. That is the reason I believe I am so able to purchase guns, he said. But come to find out that was a lie. And that's what the media are using. No, no, no. He said he intentionally wants to commit a mass murder. And he wrote this, not as a joke. He said he wrote it down because he was planning to do so. He was mentally ill and and basically his classmates have come to know this. But of course, the media has silenced these classmates. He made for a strange facial expression uh, when he showed up for a school wearing a full hazmat suit, boots, gloves, everything. And he called another student's beard an atrocity to the pandemic. The police and the school administrators understood perfectly well that this kid was financially dangerous. That is why they sent him to a psych ward. Even his own parents must have known something was very, very wrong. Anyone's diary that describes how his mother helped him bury the cat, a lifelong loved cat, that he had beaten to death in the garage and beheaded it with a hatchet. Wow. Doesn't it sound like Dahmer to you guys? That's what it sounded like to me. Dahmer used to hurt animals. So his mother had to admit this. And finally, he actually did what he said. He would commit a mass murder. Is anybody hearing this on the news? Anybody ever heard the thing with his mother and the cat? Don't you think that would appall the viewers? I know it definitely creeped me out. And I hope I don't get taken for that one. And the crowd of strangers in a Buffalo supermarket. And he murdered 10 of them. Why? So how did the adults around him let this happen? Because you know what? These kids with these mental issues, they don't know what to do with them. The parents don't know what to do with them. The school don't know what to do with them. The counselors don't know what to do with them. Then they send them to mental health counselors. They don't know what to do with them. Oh, it's overcrowded. There's no room. No room at the mental health end. You would not believe how this last week I've called around and checked since that shooting. All over the United States, where these major cities are, there is no room at the end at the mental health ward. It's full. They're not taking anybody. So what's that tell you with the millions that could be out there that have health issues? That might even, or the handful that might even commit something like this. No room at the end, they say. Nope. So in a country with functioning leadership, we would be asking that question. The science of mental health is certainly there. We have a lot of mental issues, and a lot of it stems from methamphetamines and drugs, heroin, and what's on our streets. And the people in charge have missed this. And they don't get it. I'm sorry. Those signs that they're being shown right now is in their face, folks. And they don't get it. They just don't seriously get it. They don't take it serious enough. And they're not paying close enough attention. How many shootings have we had in this country? And all they do is politically use it. They didn't fix it. They let another killer slip through. So what did they do wrong with this kid? How can we learn from it? We should learn from it if we want to prevent more mass murders. In all the years that I have followed mass murderers, folks, and I talk in depth with Mary, our moderator, last night on this. From the first mass shooting to this one, there is one common denominator in all of the shooters. They have a mental health issue, for one. All try to go for the insanity plea with all sorts of depression and bipolar and past polar and dipolar and whatever. All sorts on depression meds. Now get that. All of the shooters were on antidepressants. They're called SSRIs. Mary's going, uh-oh, she's going to talk about this. So, now that's the common denominator, folks. I want to get very serious with you guys on this. How come every one of the mass shooters, the school shooters, and a lot of even gang members are on antidepressants or SSRIs, and there's other names for them too. Look at the ones that have been recalled. Lots of them. Is that being told? No. Look in the past and realize the problem is mental health and antidepressants, some even triggered by electronics in the house. Aren't you starting to see when you go to watch a video, it says it has subliminal issues and it might mess with you? You don't think that these kids aren't going to do it? What does it do to a person on antidepressant? Has that study ever been done? No, we care about, we do stuff like what I said last week of where does it hurt the most when a bee stings you? This is what we need to be having in these labs. This is what we need to study. This is what we need to investigate, is why every single mass shooter that his school shootings have done this are on antidepressants, and they are depressed. They have mental issues. Are they making it into the mental wards, or is there no room at the end? And then this shooter, our leaders all know this. They have known. The FBI, the CIA, the NSA have all investigated these shootings, and they don't see it. My God, what kind of investigators are they? They went to college for it, and they don't see it. And that's not all. What about our leaders that are asking what's going on tonight? They're not even asking the right questions. They aren't even addressing this mental health issue. They are only asking about questions like, how exactly can they benefit from this? What is the root cause? Oh my God. What is the root cause? Did they look at the mental health issue? No. They are only looking at how they can leverage from this tragedy to their advantage. How can other people suffering um, um, make them more powerful? It didn't take long for Joe Biden to find that way and say it to your face. You missed it? Biden flew to Buffalo to speak to the family members. There had been a number of mass murders uh, since Biden came into president, some radically motivated. Purely a little over a year ago, there was a massacre at a supermarket that happened. Really? A Syrian-born man murdered 10 people in Boulder, Colorado, and even used the same caliber rifle, the same gun as this Gendron kid did. Anybody hear about that? Was it all over the news? Was it, oh, he's a white supremacist? Well, no, it didn't. And why? It wasn't mentioned as a white supremacist because this is a Syrian guy. And if he's a Syrian guy, then it's not a white thing. And it's not white supremacist, so they don't want to talk about it. Or it's not a cop. Heads of state asking what's going on. What in God's happened on January 6th? What happened in the Buffalo thing? What happened? What happened? What happened? Why did the Colorado shooter do that? Why? That's all we've been hearing. When I was out in California, one of the first shootings at the school was in Olivehurst, California. And my son and my daughter was evacuated from the school because the dude disappeared saying he was going to do more schools. He didn't. They caught him. But the fact is he shot a teacher, and he was on, guess what? He was on medicine. He had antidepressant medicines, and he was mental. That was back in 1980. Oh, my son was in 6th grade. So 85, 86. No, we were here. 81, maybe. No, goodness, now I can't think of when that was. It would have been 1990, 1991, 92 in there. I'm sorry. I had to think of my son's age. So January 6th and the Buffalo massacre that just happened. So now you put that, I read that to you, okay? But the thing about it was Joe Biden basically uh, compared the Buffalo massacre that just happened with January 6th. Did you guys catch it in the speech? Huh. Wow. So, how is a political protest at the Capitol related to a murder spree with a demented teenager in New York? They didn't know. No one has said these guys are mental, and I even went and looked at Fur Boy with the horns. He's not mental. He's not a mental case. He's not on SSRIs, nor is he depressed. He is now because they're all in prison or in jail. So, how does this relate from a capital related to a murder spree by a demented teenager in New York State over the weekend? Why do these two events have to be hooked together? And what do they have in common? And these unnamed heads of state who are connecting these with non connected events in a conversation with Joe Biden for him to make a horrible speech that he did. You may have wondered um, that, but don't ask because it's not meant to be asked. They're not going to talk to the reporters that will even ask that, nor did they. It's a rhetorical device meant to connect everything that might challenge Joe Biden and a bunch of these together in the same moral category, except not mentioning all of them. He chooses to pick one to cover up the fact and the facts that's documented, televised, mentioned over and over and over again, the Democrats' connection to white supremacy. Just watch Hillary's America by Dinesh D'Souza. It proves it. There is a white supremacy problem in the Democrat Party that has been boiling for close to 80 years, folks. And it also proves with historical facts that as they flip history, they must destroy. They must destroy what they have done and believe. Joe Biden and the Clintons and Senator Byrd kept segregation in the South till 1991. How do I know this? I watched it happen. Not only did I watch it happen in Arkansas, but Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, and even into the Virginias. And it did happen in West Virginia. Wow, that's kind of seems like that would be the North, right? Well, guess what? It was Senator Byrd's country. Yeah, that was his little space in the woods, West Virginia, where there was white supremacy that flowed. Why do I know this? Because that's where he lived and that's where all the KKK rallies was that he went to. Huh. Wow. January 6th, mass murder, really? Bubonic plague it's almost like a bubonic plague that's happening. It's spreading so quick, and Biden quotes, okay, this is his quote. It is all the same at all bad, and it's all bad because it is bad. And that Joe Biden's a foreign USA, oh boy, U.S. today, after 250 years, we are going to have to suspend the Bill of Rights. And we begin where the Bill of Rights began, with freedom of speech. This is what Joe Biden's saying, folks. Speaker, you can't prevent people from being radicalized, but we can address the relentless exploitation of the internet that recruits and mobilize terrorist group. What is it? He wants to begin with the Bill of Rights and with freedom of speech. And you can't prevent people from being radicalized. Huh. Okay, can you see what he's saying, what he means? Have you watched my show to understand that there has been an attack on the Republican Party since the 1800s. See, if you don't know, if you're new, the Whig Party was started first, and the Democrats attacked it until it was basically dissolved. And then the Republican Party started, and it's been under attack since. And see, in 1900, they even tried for a one political party to run this country. And why do I know this? Is because we have a place over there at the Capitol in Little Rock where African Americans had made it into Congress. And this is what they were speaking about. And this is why I'm learning what I've learned. And they have tried for a one political party to run this country. So back to Biden's speech, we're relentless. Really? We are relentless, and we exploit people. Really, we don't live in the violence. We don't. They do. Or destruction of our cities. They do. So relentless? No, I don't think so. I don't think we're the ones pushing this violence that plagues our cities. The exploitation of the internet, recruit and mobilize terrorism. Can anyone show, or has anyone seen a specific case to where the internet has caused any of this mass shooting, or pushed anybody to? Have you seen Republican parties that are mulling on Facebook or Twitter how horrible Democrats are from the Republican Party? You see it from the Democrats, because I go to Antifa sites and I read what they have to say, and it's very violent, and it's very violent against us. And so was Peyton Gendron recruited and mobilized by the internet? No. In fact, he was just mentally ill. He hardly even used the internet. He snapped. He'd been planning this for a very long time. And he did what his diseased brain commanded him to do. It wasn't racist. It was a bad mind. He had an issue in his brain that he needed medications for. And the same way with Colorado shooter. And this is a good way to compare the two. Boy, I'm running long today. This might be a 2-hour show. His parents were part of DARPA, Colorado shooter, not this guy. And this kid's head was so messed up. And I don't know why. I can't make no connection saying the DARPA had anything to do with it. But no, he was very, very depressed, and he was on antidepressants. He quit them. 2 days later, he shot up that movie theater. So it's the diseased brain that commanded this young 17-year-old to shoot up the market. The internet did not make him do it. He did it himself. Radicalized. Was he radicalized by what he read on the internet? Well, prove it. And this is, get this, they were saying this not even 2 hours after the shooting happened. How did they know that what he read on the internet made him do it, made him radicalized? Pol Pot was radicalized. He killed more than 1 million people, and he wrote a book. Should we ban that book? Should we ban all books? Should we ban the internet sites of radicalized people? And who's a radical person? What exactly is Joe Biden saying here? He's saying, thanks to what happened in Buffalo over the weekend, you no longer have rights at all, including the most basic, which is to read what you want. And after nullifying the First Amendment, he moved on to the second. Here's a quote. The venom of haters, and this is what he said in his speech, the venom of haters and their weapons of war and the violence and the words that stick on our streets come from our stories, our school. This venom is violence. It cannot be the story of our time, but there are certain things we can do. We can keep assault weapons off our streets, and we have done it before. When have we ever kept assault? They sold the assault weapons to people. It was Eric Holder under the Obama administration with who else? Joe Biden, that sold the guns to Mexico, and now we're seeing them in the hands of our street gangs. Um, did he forget? Probably. I mean, he is kind of losing his memory. So not only that, it wasn't an assault rifle this kid used. It was a rifle. There's a difference, folks. And there is a big difference. Maybe me and William will have to go over what an AK-47 is compared to what is a rifle, a hunting rifle. You see, you put a scope on it, it scares the hell out of these Democrats. And who did it scare the hell out of? Nancy Pelosi and Feinstein. She was toting it like. Did you see the picture of Feinstein holding the AR-15? I was cracking up. But they're scared of these things. So why the heck did they sell them to Mexico? So because a mentally ill 17 or 18-year-old used a specific rifle to commit these crimes, all of a sudden it became an assault rifle. Now, Joe Biden bodyguards can have an assault rifle, so can Nancy Pelosi's, so can even Harris, or a lot of what we're seeing with, let's say, is her name Cori Bush? What about Lightfoot? They all do, in fact, and they pay for it. And guess what? We pay for it. I shouldn't say they pay for it. We pay for it out of our tax money. But they are important, and you're not. So they can have protection and you can't, because these people in charge fail to protect shoppers in Buffalo. You're not allowed to protect your family, even though your family might be every bit of important as Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and their families, but they're not as important. So are we going to defund the police and disarm them again, or disarm you? That's how it works. That's how it works. But look at those committing the crimes, and look who won't stop it. Look who's in power and control of this country. And we did expect them to stop it, and they won't. Why? It's all the Democrats' way to do is this, not just to us, but listen up, Democrats. You're the victim too of these crimes that's happening in our cities. These are the facts, and it's well documented. And disarm you, well, that's just the start of communism. If you look at it's a lot of how communism or socialism works, socialism to communism always. And they start with freedom of speech. And you're racist, or you're talking bad against the government. And then it's the guns. They got to disarm their people. And isn't this exactly what's happening? This is what Jinping did. Are we implementing Jinping's views? The warning, the communists took speech and guns away at the start in the fall of democracy, the start of communism. This is why Democrats ignored the atrocities in other countries. And then Joe Biden got to the main point of his speech of what was people who criticized his immigration policies and responsible for the violence. And that's what's responsible for the violence in Buffalo. Did he forget it was a 17-year-old kid with a head problem? How did it turn into that it's us being mad at the immigrants coming into this country? So here's him kind of explaining it, and here's his quote. The hate through the media and politics and the internet has radicalized angry individuals, and they're alienated, they're lost, they're isolated individual into falsely believing that they will be replaced. That is the word, replaced by the other. And I condemn those who spread the lie or the power, political gain for profit. So what you get is a lockdown country. You lock the kids out of their schools and you force them to be educated on the internet. But the internet, remember, is radicalized and it causes you to shoot people. But that's what he did. And half those kids played on the internet on those little tablets they gave them. They were able, in a way, to hook to the internet because they had to give them a portion of it for them to be able to watch CNN, because CNN was basically the news that was going into our junior highs and high schools. My own kids showed me. I was like, how'd you get on the internet? Well, we got the internet on them. Well, why aren't you doing your schoolwork? See? So we forced them into this internet type of school, and then they're saying that the internet was radicalizing these kids. No, they were just bored. And what do you offer the kids? Um, Army games where you make guns and you shoot people. Yeah, that's fun. I don't know any kid that doesn't do it. Or what about uh, some of the simpler games for the kids? It's always going and hitting somebody with something, whether it's a balloon, a paint gun, or ink, or they're always attacking. That's what they're promoting to our kids in these games. Now, I have to admit, some of it is fun. Some of it, and the hunting games, of course, the warship games. Uh, right now, one of the biggest um, is Call of Duty and World of War. And that's what these high schoolers and even college students want to play. Is that made them radical and mean? No, I don't think so. I've met a lot of these kids. In fact, my um, uh, guy that fixes my computer fellow, he's not like that. He's as kind as a butterfly. But he plays all those games, and he went to college and he played all those games. And uh, so is he radicalized? No, no. Um, and they forced them to get educated on what? CRT, Common Core, that made no sense. It was between the CRT and the Common Core, it caused our kids to lose 2 years off their education. And now what do they want to do? Oh, well, let's lower the standards so they can all go through. We now have kids so stunted by being locked down for 2 years. They're 2 years behind, which would so if you're a 17 or 18-year-old and senior at 4 years, we are now seeing 24-year-olds in high school. That ought to be alarming. That's why it's so easy for these illegals that are gangsters to get into the schools and radicalize the students, the gang students, and to show the gangs a better way of fighting, because they get those assault rifles in other countries. So we force them to get educated on what, and for someone else's fault that they are alienated. No one's alienated our kids but the school system. And they want to blame it. Guess on who? All of this has to do with Republicans are severely vengeful, hateful people. And didn't he demonize and blame the internet for the spread of hate once again? This is an agenda speech, folks. And I believe whoever wrote his speech screwed up, because they were exposing the Democrat views and the hatred for Republicans, but Democrat voters as well. Because did he say that he didn't say Trump people? No, he put his speech as everybody. And so Democrat voters, yeah, you guys are just as hated as well as we are by this administration. They have been hearing about this. They have been hearing about this great replacements theory. And you've heard a lot about the great replacement theory, maybe. This is everywhere in the last 2 days, and it's being mentioned a lot on the news. And here's what we do know. There is a strong political component to the Democrat Party's immigration policy. We are not guessing this. We know this. They said again and again and again that they have written books and monographs and magazines and articles, and they bragged about it endlessly and talked about it on cable news constantly. And we are doing this because it will help us win elections, they say. So the hatred and the alienation and the cities being all under all of this control is only to help them win elections. Wow, someone screwed up that speech, huh? That is something that's not just said once. It's something they have gloated about again and again and again. And, uh, and we think that this is wrong. We do. And in case you doubt this, here's some of the quotes they were saying. The blue wave is African American. It is, it's the white, it's the Latino, it's the Asian, Pacific Islander. It's those that have been told that they're not worthy of being here. It's compromised of those who documented and undocumented. The couple of presidential cycles, you will be on the election night announcing that we are calling for the 38th electoral votes for Texas and the Democrat nominee for president. We have started to begin to take over the Republican states. It is changing. It's going to become purple, and then the whole country will become blue. And this is the best state because of demographics. Then Joe Biden quoted, the demographics America are not on the side of the Republican Party anymore. The new voters in this country that we are bringing in are moving away from having a majority rule of the Republican Party. And instead, they are moving to be independents or even vote on the other side. An unrelenting stream of immigration, nonstop. Yes, nonstop, folks, he said, like me. I am Caucasian of Urine descent. For the first time in 2017, we will be absolutely a minority in the United States of America. Absolutely minority, with fewer than 50% of the people in America. And from then and on, we'll be white. European stock, but not only that, but it'll be a multicultural culture. We will become uh, a national state, a national country. This is not a bad thing, and that is the source of strength. End quote. Wow. So he's siding, and not only that, but he's siding with the Ukraine army, which is in fact, folks, are neo-Nazis. Zelensky's admitted to it. He supports it. Trying hard here not to get, I'm trying hard here not to get in trouble telling you this, folks. But we can't let them Democrats lie, not just to you, but to their own voters. Maybe I'm a little soft for a few Democrats, but their voters need to know that when the Soylent Green trucks show up, they're going to scoop them up with us. There's not going to be any difference. It's not going to matter white, brown, black, pink, purple, Democrat, independent, uh, even holding up the sign, make abortions legal. They're all of us will be scooped up with the Soylent Green trucks. I don't mean to put it like they're going to make chips out of us. No, but it's the scooper trucks. Means they're going to do like to us, like China is doing to its own people. When it gets really bad, they bring out the scooper trucks there too. You have to look at the dark web to see that. You know, you could play clips of them saying this over and over, and saying it that you are the deranged conspiracy. This may be the funniest part, and I don't mean to make this, funny. The Democrat Party has decided rather than convince you, you are people that are born here, and their policies are helping you to make a country better and stronger. They're going to change it. They're going to change the electorate. They said, and we are not guessing that they're doing this. They're doing it in our face, and they say they're going to do it. They're going to pack the Supreme Court. They're going to, what was it? Go out on the streets and you hurt them. Isn't that what Maxine Waters said? It turns out that the average Salvadorian landscaper that's into politics is basically going to be a Republican because he doesn't want his checks taxed to hell. He doesn't like what he's hearing on his TV that how this country's going, the crime rate. More than likely, they're going to live in an inner city where they see the crime up and personal. They're seeing the change from the freedom. They came here for freedom. Now they're seeing socialism. That's what they came from. They don't want to be a part of that. And not only that, they're um, less likely um, to become a Democrat. But Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi seem to believe that since it's freedom here, they can do whatever they want to all of us, even though the illegals are seeing it, that they're going to vote for them. They're going to vote for socialism and communism. Well, you know what? It's not happening. These people are coming in. Yeah, they get all that free stuff. Yeah, and then vote for Joe Biden, and then they get in this world. And they're put on the street. They didn't get the house. They got that $800 card though, but not when your rent is over $2,200 a month in San Francisco or L.A. They can't afford it. And this is where they put them. They're dumping them off on the streets and they become homeless. Then they find out how horrible the Democrat Party is and going to hurt them and tax them and maybe even throw them in jail if they're homeless on the street. It's not until they show their information that they're an illegal that they're let free, but they're treated like anybody else. So, and as they came from a socialist communist country to come here for freedom. And the Democrats are too stupid to realize that the people just want freedom. They don't want their hatred in their politics. And then come to find out, dozen by dozens by dozens of these illegals now say they want to be a Republican. So and they don't see it. They don't see it. Their calculation is totally wrong. And that is not really the point. The race and has to do with a lot of things. Because one, the purpose of the United States government should be to serve you. And two, they should never craft any federal law, which is a nationwide policy in order to help a specific political party. That is itself an isolation and immoral. It does not matter what policy it is and exactly what they are doing. And again, they just rave about it. Not just the Democrat Party, but the politicians. Virtually every media figure on the left has been bragging for decades that everything that we say or do is a conspiracy theory. Really? Let's see, Anna Navarro. And this is a Harvard graduate. She wrote, "The demographic will grow in numbers and influence, which is under the influence of hallucinations and hallucinogenics." And the piece called "Old White Straight Male Voters Ain't What They Used to Be." So we are now on hallucinogenics and hallucinogens, and we are all white straight male voters that are creepy. That's what the young media people think of us. And if you don't want to be paranoid and angry, maybe write pieces like that. And now, not only that, but rub it in their face and give them the finger that day. That's what they're saying. If they don't like it, rub it in their face and give them a finger. And you know what? They say this will de-escalate the Republican Party from becoming hostile. Where did this woman, Anna Navarro, who the heck is she? I guess she's on one of the media CNN things. But did you hear that? It sounded like Maxine Waters. Hey, if they don't like it, and the way to de-escalate it is you rub it in their face and you give them the finger and maybe even get in their face. See, that this has been a view of the left for a very long time. And a political piece from 2013, we can go on for hours about immigration reform and the finance of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party pumping as many as 11 million new Hispanic voters into Republican spaces. Not only to do that, but come to find out, it's not working. and they induced in the El Toro um, that calculation may be completely wrong. A lot of the people in the Democrats are importing, may wind up being deeply sympathetic to our party because it's actually not white. We're not white liberals. We're kind of freedom fighters. And they say that it's not really a secret of what the white liberals are doing or how they vote, how they're thinking, how their politics are immoral and wrong. This is Latino people thinking this, folks. But they say it's a gaming system. This isn't democracy. This is the opposite of what they bragged about. And not only that, but I've seen them brag about this for more than 80 years. Um, and another example is 2013. This is years of Obama. The Center for American Progress announced that supporting real immigration reform that campaigns a pathway to citizenship. You hear that? They want to do it quickly, and the only way to maintain electoral strength in the future is to get them in and get them registered so they can vote for us. The great replacement theory. Um, these are lunatics. So they think we're going to bring them all in, we're going to get them to vote, and we're going to abuse them, and then guess what? They'll vote for us on election day. No, that's their strategy. You know, and when we hear the screams, and you call, hey, these are criminals that are on our streets. What do we get? The New York Times says, you know what? We can replace them, and they've said it. And it's that in your face. We could just replace the Republicans with these illegals. And right now, America is tearing itself apart. Uh, the it's not about the white man unserved or the minority. They could care less. It's the Republican Party, and they will harm Republicans for years to come. The demographics, they say, is destiny. Are you allowed to say that? As a politician, and you call them up on it and they agree with it. Do they even know what this all means? They are so wrong. And if you have not looked at, if you haven't looked at it and really listened to these people talking, you would never know. And if you haven't looked at the electoral map recently, um, the fact that seeing the demographics is destiny, uh, I think they're going to be in a rude awakening. The theory from the left is they do not think it's a theory, they think it's real. In 2021, the Washington Post, Jen Rubin celebrated the report of the number of white people in this country is declining. Do they realize that? I don't know. I guess I'm a Heinz 57. How many of you got more than like 2 or 3 nationalities in your DNA? They realize white. The only way I could think of as white is when the Nazis did that in Germany in the 1940s, where they were trying to create a white race. How many people in this country are white, and no other nationality? It's far and few in this country. And so they're all happy that white people in this country are declining. Can you imagine this being fabulous news? She wrote, we need to prevent the minority white rule. My God, talking like that. Is there any more decisive thing that we could write? We can give you a million more examples. We are offended by this because it's so wrong, and for saying so. And according to Carl Cameron on MSNBC, we should throw them all in jail just because they're Republicans. You got to watch out because Republicans have become purveyors of misinformation, and we need not a two-party system, and it'll be broken, and democracy is in serious trouble. The president acknowledged that, and it's time we actually start building things, like maybe taking some names and putting them in jail. If not, maybe we could help them to commit crimes and blame them for the crime so we can have them in prison. You hearing that? This is our media that's saying this to their viewers. Now, can you see where the Democrats hate us so much? And that means you. It means Republicans. It means Democrats. This means that the media is threatening us with words that Democrats want you to know. Realize that. Taking names and putting people in jail. Who are these people? Well, thanks, Senate, for that. The majority leader, Chuck Schumer, and others, not only attacking the Supreme Court, but in ways freedom of the people in this country. I was warned of when I spoke to one of Schumer's aides that quit after our phone call, that this was an attack on America. He warned me. So, is Chuck Schumer spreads dangerous rhetoric and needs to be pulled off basically he needs to be pulled out of his post. He shouldn't be the Speaker of the House. Chuck Schumer is a federal official and a lean in the Democrat parties. But he swore to uphold the laws and our Constitution, which now he breaks. And now he does not vow to protect and serve 50% of the country. Because, 50, if you look at the House and Senate, it's 50-50. Someone's got to decide that vote, not the House, just the Senate, which tells you that this country is broken down 50-50. And the 50% that don't like the Democrats should be killed, maimed, hurt, or in jail or prison. Everything that they're doing is a direct violation of our First Amendment, and we hear it every day. Let's just throw them in jail, they said. So you see, the Democrat Party has spoken the truth. And now you know the facts. You hear their words. See, I'm correct. From 1900, the hatred of Republicans and white. And why hate white? What's going on? Folks, I want all the African Americans to realize the same people that have done 7 to 10 terms. Yes, a lot of these politicians on the Democrat side have been in for 7 to 10 terms. Biden's been in for 7 or 8, I believe. And that are in office, protested the civil rights movement and lost. And that's why all of you see your inner cities and the destructions of no jobs, bad cops, bad school, and crime. It's to punish you for the civil rights movement. This is something I've been told by many African Americans here in the South. And this was also seen by John and Robert Kennedy. They seen it, is why they took the side of Martin Luther King when he did, and he was protesting. And they were going to change parties. Who, you say? John and Robert Kennedy were going to change parties. And well, we seen what happened in Texas on that horrible day. And you ask, how do I know? How do I know this? Because the Kennedy party changed, basically, the Martin Luther King family told us so. In many, many ways. They came out afterwards and said that Kennedy and both Kennedy boys were going to change parties. They were going to go to Republican because of what they were seeing in the South. That everything that we're seeing today with the police, with the chief of police, with the sheriffs, with the DA, with the judges, and all of that down here was all Democrat back during the civil rights movement. And they're the ones that drug African Americans down the road. They're the ones that lynched them. They're the ones in the white hoods. We know they were in the white hoods since 1920s. So in the Democrat political party, no one except those elite Democrats should have a democracy or freedoms. And the Democrats are starting to realize their party is now turning against them. We may have to, in turn, almost decades and decades of our justice system, folks, and I'm fixing to end this. Um, why didn't we listen to the civil rights movement? Why didn't we listen to them? Why didn't we see that it was the Democrats that was down here that was doing this? And then what did they do? They all fled to the north. And what did they become? They become chief of police. They become DA. They became uh, judges. And everybody that was put into power that we are now seeing now. Not only that, but their offsprings. And I vow on a stack of Bibles that I was told that John and Robert Kennedy were changing parties. It wasn't just said to me, but it was said to many others by the King family. Avita King has even said it. Um, I think African Americans are waking up, but I think the rest of us need to wake up and realize what this is about. It is stemmed from when they first created a party, that this would be a one-party system for the United States. A one-party system is a dictatorship. That is an oligarch. That is someone that we have seen socialism now, that's leading us down the road to communism. Go back and listen to Joe Biden's speech with those families from yesterday, I believe. Listen to what he wants to do to us, because this is what he said exactly. And I really hope you share today's show. Um, and I hope you realize the Democrat Party is the party of the KKK. They're the party of white supremacy. The reason they're doing this, they have to hide it. They got to tear down the statues. They got to get rid of the history books. They got to take everything out of the school system that shows they are the white supremacist. And folks, I really hope you get it. Go back and listen if you got to. I know this was a long 2-hour show, but this is something that really needed to be said. And I probably have more I should have said today. I told Mary I was going to create a show out of it, and boy, I did. So you guys have a wonderful afternoon. Me and William would be back with the military report tonight. He probably has a lot of things to say to me. William, give me a few hours and I'll give you a call. So with that, folks, share and, of course, subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notifications. God bless this world right now, what we're all going through, because we have people from other countries coming here only to be tortured like we are. And prayers for the Democrat Party. Yeah, I'm soft on them, because I hope they realize that they're just as screwed as we are. It's at all of us. The Democrat has to buy an electric car too, and they don't care. They're gonna screw every one of us. It's a power play, and they are the white supremacists of this country. And the more that we can get this out, and the more that we can see what they have done, that this is a takeover of trying to take over our country, we can't allow it. Get out there and vote for these primaries. Because that's what we need to do. We need to get the vote, and we need to get rid of them. And we need poll watchers to watch those drop boxes. If you want to be a poll watcher, you don't got to go there. Go watch them drop boxes, and you film everybody that drops more than one ballot in them boxes. So that's it for today, folks. We will see you later this evening with Williams with the World War III report. God bless, and we'll see you tonight.